Hello, welcome to my channel. If you are familiar with the SSIS data flow task, it helps you move data from one place to another place. However, if you want to move data dynamically, you will also know that data flow task probably cannot do job well. Today, I am going to show you how to create a Visual Studio SSIS package that export data from database to text files dynamically according to a set of parameters. This video is a continuation of my previous video. If you are not familiar with the basics of the SSIS package, I recommend you watch my earlier videos. The link is provided below. If you have already known the data flow and execute SQL tasks, you should have no problem to follow me in this video. Now, our task is to run data query for year 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 separately. Then export each year's data to a flat text file, with the file name formatted as data.year.txt. Now, let's open the SSIS package that we created previously. Select the .sln, the solution file, and open it with Visual Studio 2019. Let's create a new package by a right-click on the SSIS packages folder at the right-hand side and select New SSIS Package. Right-click the newly created package1.dtsx file and rename it as Dynamically Export to Text.dtsx. Click Yes to All to allow the name changes. From now on, we will work exclusively on this new package. Therefore, we can close the previously open package. Before we continue, let us create some variables that will hold our data and parameters temporarily. Open the variable editor. Create out data, give it an object data type. An object data set, also give it an object data type. A str file name, give it a string data type. A str term dscr, give it a string data type. We probably don't need this one, anyway, just in case we need it. Finally, str year, also give it a string data type. Close the package variable editor. Now click Parameters tab to open the package parameter editor. Create a package level parameter called result folder. Give it a string data type and enter its value as desktop/myresult. Click Control Flow tab to start building our package. Now, drag and execute task to the Control Flow pane. Right-click and select Edit to open it. Let's give it as name called Execute SQL Task, Get Year Dataset. We will use the Ole DB as the connection type, and right below it, select an Ole DB connection for it. If you don't have one, create a new Ole DB connection for this task. This task will create a dataset of 4 records, and we need the entire dataset for our next task. Therefore, in the Result Set box, select Full Result Set. Now, enter the SQL query as the red text showing on the screen. If you don't have this data table, use the provided SQL script in the description area below to create the data table in your database. Click the result set on the left. Then click Add. Change the result name to 0. The variable name should be user, obj year dataset. The query result will be stored in this variable. Click OK to close the Execute SQL task. For testing, let's drag a SSIS logging task to show the query result stored inside the user, obj year dataset variable. Save then run the package. Oops, the package run failed. Something wrong with the SQL query. Let's check and fix it. It needs a space between from and term TBL. Simply add a space to the SQL query. Then rerun the package. This time, it works well. Stop the package and check the output log. And we see the data in HTML format printed in the output log. This is great. The first step works. Let's remove the ZS logging task by disabling it. Now, we need a for each loop container to loop through the 4 records of years holding by the user, obj year dataset variable. Drag and drop a for each loop container to the control pane. Connect the green arrow below the execute SQL task to the for each loop container. Rename it as for each year loop container. Right-click, then select Edit to open the container editor. Click Collection. Set the enumerator to for each ADO enumerator. The ADO object source variable should be the user, obj year dataset variable. The enumeration mode should be the rows in the first table. Click Variable Mappings to map the data column to variables that we're going to use in the looping operation. The variable user, str year should receive data from the first column, which is index 0. The variable user, str file name should receive data from the second column, which is indexed 1. Now, drag and drop another execute SQL task inside the for each loop container. With the user, str year variable in the loop, we are able to execute the SQL query dynamically for each year. Therefore, rename it as execute dynamic SQL task. This task will dynamically create a data set according to a parameter, for example 2021. In the result set box, select full result set. We will also use the Ole DB as the connection type, and right below it, select an Ole DB connection for it. Now, enter the SQL query as the red text showing on the screen. We will make this query a dynamic one later. If you don't have the data table, use the provided SQL script in the description area below to create the data table in your database. Click OK to close the SQL query editor. Click the parameter mapping, then click Add to create an input parameter for the SQL query. In the variable name box, select user, str year to map into the input parameter, which has data type equal to varchar, and parameter name is @and_year, and length equal to 4 characters. We have to use the @ as the parameter marker for Ole DB connection type. Click the result set on the left, then click Add. Change the result name to 0. The variable name should be user.outData, which will hold the result data set from this execute SQL task. Now, go back to the General tab and open the SQL query editor to update it as a dynamic query. Simply replace the single quotation 2021 single quotation by a question mark. Click OK, then OK again to close the execute SQL task. Let's recycle the ZS logging task and move it into the for each loop container. Connect it with the execute dynamic SQL task to test the package built so far. Edit the ZS logging task and tell it to log the str year and out data variables. Save and run the package. And it works well. Check the output log, and we got the data for each of the 4 years. This is wonderful. Back to our SSIS package. Disable the ZS logging task, then move it to the outside of the container. Now, drag and drop a data flow task into the for each loop container. Connect it with the execute dynamic SQL task by dragging the green arrow. Right-click the data flow task, then click Edit to open the data flow pane. Drag and drop a script component to the data flow pane. Select Source as the script component type. Right-click the script component, then click Edit to open its editor. We need to bring some read-only variables into the script component. Therefore, click the 3 tiny dot icon on the right to select the variables that we need. From the variables list, check the package, result folder, check the system, username, check the user, str year, check the user, str file name. And of course, we need to check the user out data, which hold the data that will be export to a text file. Okay, I think we have selected all the variables that we need. Close the variable list dialog box. Click the Inputs and Outputs tab on the left. Rename Output 0 as My Output. At the output columns, add a column named term.dscr. And change its data type into string dt_str. Click the Script tab, then click the Edit Script button to open the script editor. It would take a while to open the script editor. At the Namespaces section, we need to add using System.Windows.Forms and using System.Data.OleDb. Before we go on, let's use the Windows form MessageBox to print out the data type of the Variables.outData. Therefore, enter this line of code inside the pre-execute block. Save and close the script editor. Click OK to close the script component task. Execute that script component task, and we can see that the user variable outData is a System.com object type, and the message box pops up 4 times showing the same results. We know the script component is working so far. Let's jump back into the script editor and add the real code to it. I would like to put a note here to remind me that currently the variable outData is a System.com object type when using the Ole DB connection to get the data. Later, I will show you that if the connection type were changed to ADO.NET, the variable outData would become another data type. In that case, our script needs to handle it differently. By the way, you can comment out the message box line to stop the message pop-up. Scroll down to the CreateNewOutputRows block. Enter the code. To save the time, I copy and paste the code into the block. Here we use an Ole DB data adapter and a DataTable to handle the query data stored in the variable outData. Then use the data adapter's fill function to convert outData into a DataTable. Then, we can use the for each loop to handle the data rows in the DataTable. In the for each loop, we add row to the myOutput buffer, then assign our data term DSCR to the column term DSCR of the myOutput buffer, which we created previously in the Inputs and Outputs tab. When the for each loop complete, myOutput will hold the data for exporting to a text file. Save and close the script editor. Now, we can drag and drop a flat file destination to the data flow pane and connect it with script component by dragging the blue arrow below the script component. Right-click the flat file destination and edit it. Since I already have a flat file connection manager set up, therefore, the flat file destination automatically pick the connection manager. Remember to click the Mappings tab to check the column mappings. So far so good. Click OK to close the flat file destination. If you don't have a flat file connection manager set up, you can simply create one. You can see that all you need to do is tell the connection manager where you want the flat file to be saved. Also, you will find out that Flat File Connection Manager cannot save the file saving dynamically. There is no place where we can specify the file name dynamically. This is bad. Anyway, I just want to show you how the flat file destination works. Let me rename the Flat File Connection Manager as version 2021. Later you will see that all of the 4 years data will overwrite on this same file. Let's save and run the package. The data flow completes successfully. Let's check the text file, data2021.txt, and it is the 2024 data saved in this file. Ha 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 ha! I also found that I have a typo in the 2024 data. Spring 2023 should be labeled as Spring 2024. I need to fix this typo in the database later. Since the flat file destination cannot meet our business requirements, we will remove it from our data flow. Right-click it and select Delete to remove it. Now, I am going to show you that we can write our own script to export data to flat text file dynamically. Let's jump back into the script editor again. In the Namespaces section, add using System.io. That's right, we are going to use System.io to export data. Scroll down to the end. Comment out the CreateNewOutputRows block. Then use copy and paste to create a new CreateNewOutputRows block. To save the time, I also copy and paste the code into the new CreateNewOutputRows block. Specifically, we are going to use StreamWriter to write the data to a text file. We recycle the code for the Ole DB data adapter, DataTable, and for each row looping, then make some adjustments. I parsed out the computer username and make the file path and file name dynamically. Your machine username pattern may be different from mine. Therefore, you need to check and adjust the code to make it work for you if you want to save the file on your desktop. I will provide the code in the description area. Close the script editor. Since the script component directly take the source data and export to the text files, we don't need to add a data destination task to the data flow. Therefore, save and run the package. It ran successfully. Let's check the output folder, which is the My Result folder on the desktop. Open the My Result folder. We got 4 files. Each file for a year. Open the text files. We see each file holding the data for the corresponding year. So far, we have completed the task according to the business requirements. The next is a bonus for those who still follow the video to this point. I am going to show you if you use an ADO.NET connection type to query your data dynamically. The resulting data is a System.Data.DataSet type, which is different from the results from Ole DB connection. Therefore, we need to handle the task differently. Inside the For Each Year loop container, delete the Execute SQL task, then drag and drop a new Execute SQL task into the container. We will configure the Execute SQL task, similarly as the previous one, except that we will use the ADO.NET as the connection type. Also, we need to select an ADO.NET connection manager for this task. Database-wise, I switched to using an Oracle database as the source data, then create an ADO.NET connection to the Oracle database to perform this demonstration. The input parameter to the dynamic query is the str year. However, the parameter marker should be a column and underscore year, and the dynamic query should look like the red text displayed on the screen. The parameter mapping is similar, except that we don't need to prefix an @ sign in front of the parameter name. Result set is the same as before. Click OK to close this new Execute SQL task. Drag the green arrow to connect it to the data flow task. Fast forward. Jump back into the script editor. Activate the message box pop-up to show the data type of OutData. Also, scroll down to the CreateNewOutputRows block for the Ole DB data. Comment out the block. Fast forward. Save and close the script editor. Save and run the package. When it ran successfully, you will see the OutData is a System.Data.DataSet. A System.Data.DataSet has already a data table in it. Hey, a data table, this sound familiar? Which means we no longer need to use the Ole DB data adapter to fill the data table. We can use the Variable.outData as a data table. Let's jump back into the script editor and modify our code to make it works for the ADO.NET connection type. Now, write another CreateNewOutputRows block. Because we have commented out the previous CreateNewOutputRows block for the Ole DB data. The new CreateNewOutputRows block for the ADO.NET data will be very similar to the previous one, except that we don't need the Ole DB data adapter to convert the data. Therefore, we can recycle some of the code from the previous block. However, we need to cast the Variables.outData into a dataset. And the data table is the first table inside the DS.Tables, which is index 0. With copy and paste, the new CreateNewOutputRows block for the ADO.NET data is ready. Save and close the script editor. I will put all of the code in the description area for your reference. Click OK To close the script component, back out to the control flow pane. We are ready to test out new script code for ADO.NET connection type. Before doing that, let's clear the My Result folder on the desktop so that we can know that the new text files are created successfully. Back to the SSIS package, save and run the package. And it ran successfully. Check the My Results folder again. Open the text file. We got the data export to the text files dynamically according to the business requirements. I have demonstrated a few ways to export dynamic query to text files by using script component. I hope you enjoy this video. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to drop me a note in the comment area below. Please subscribe to my channel for more future SSIS package adventures. Thank you.